I'm Dan Moyane. Now, gender-based violence continues to affect many in South Africa, despite several programs seeking to end this violence. According to the World Health Organization, South Africa far exceeds the global average when it comes to incidents of femicide. As we're about to begin 16 days of activism for no violence against women and children from this Wednesday, what should government be doing? What should we be doing differently? Elaine Pypers from the organization SA Women Fight Back is joining us now to unpack this. Elaine, good morning and thank you very much for your time. I read the article that you wrote recently, and what attracted me to the article was the headline, SA Women Fight Back. And in the article, you're talking about women are now fighting back. There's the laws that are supposed to have changed. There's a national plan. Police are supposed to be improving. There's a lot of awareness. But sadly, as I said in my intro to the program at 9 o'clock today, during the coronavirus lockdown, we saw across the world, not just in South Africa, an alarming increase of incidents of violence against women. What should change? How can this change? Because in my mind, it seems like GBV is not going anywhere. It will never be stopped.
Good morning, Dan. Thank you so much for having me today. What we should change is, I think that right now government is definitely taking a step in the right direction by the bill amendments in regards to gender-based violence. But what we should change is not just look towards our police and to our courts. How we can change the landscape of gender-based violence in South Africa is by educating our young people and communities on consent and patriarchy, because gender-based violence stems itself in patriarchy in South Africa.
When you say educate young people, you include boys as well?
Yes, I do include boys as well as girls. I think one of the issues is that we are such a patriarchal country that we don't realize how important it is to educate young boys and girls on consent. As girls growing up, I don't think we know the value of consent and that I have a voice and I have a say with regards to my body. As boys in South Africa, I don't think that they know that they have to ask for consent and that the woman or the girl needs to say yes at every step of the way. They need to agree to the sexual act.
Yeah, and we do know that there are incidents as well of violence against boys. That's why you're talking about the need to educate both on consent. But you also say in your article, which I like, you say bring about awareness. I mean, there is awareness. We are heading to 16 days of activism against violence against women and children from Wednesday. But you are saying raise awareness to get people to be involved. So just don't be aware, but take action.
Yes. And I think how we can continue to take action, particularly during the 16 days of activism, is that there's quite a lot happening in the country. On the 28th, there's a march that is organized by SA Women Fight Back, as well as other gender-based violence organizations. The march will take place across the country. For more information, you can follow SA Women Fight Back on social media. The handle is SA Women FB. And you can follow me as well on Instagram at Elaine_Pypers. And then there is one organization called Kindred. They have a T-shirt campaign called Stand Up. And they'll be selling T-shirts in support of these gender-based violence organizations across South Africa, so that they are able to raise awareness across the country, and so that women and girls can be more educated on what their rights are regarding gender-based violence when it comes to police, when it comes to the courts. And then one other band in South Africa called As One, they will be releasing a song called Enough is Enough. These are minor ways of getting involved.
Well, there are minor ways. There are other ways, as you say. I know a lot of young people like yourselves, both men and women, are doing a lot differently. There's exhibitions being planned, people still raising awareness. But your point, though, is that to be aware is one thing, but to be aware and then do something to stop GBV is another. And I think that's where we need to change our mindset. But you also talk about the need for proper assistance structures for victims, survivors of GBV. One would have assumed that there's many places of safety that exist and that the government has set up some structures. But from what you are saying, that needs to be further strengthened.
Yes. In my article, I do mention that Cyril has mentioned that government will support more shelters, GBV shelters, so that there's more safe havens for women and children. But I think a lot more has to be done in that aspect, because a lot of women and children or victims of gender-based violence aren't aware that these spaces exist, and they feel betrayed by our justice system, and they just give up on the process. So during the 16 days of activism, what SA Women Fight Back and a few other GBV organizations are doing is that they have the SEPS 6-point policy plan, where they're raising awareness on what we can do as women or as GBV victims or survivors, rather, when approaching the police. What are our rights? How do we go about exercising our rights?
Yeah, and finally, before I let you go, my government and I think the Minister of Police are identifying about 30 GBV hotspots. Most of them are in areas that are very poor, you know, and semi-rural and semi-urban, and you find that poor women there, they don't know what to do and where to go. Would you be addressing that as well as part of your campaign as SA Women Who Are Fighting Back?
Yes, our campaign is for everyone. It's not only for those who are well off. The campaign will be taking across South Africa in townships, in rural areas, in suburbs. It's not just a campaign for those who have access to the internet, for example, or those who have access to a middle class or higher life. The campaign is for everyone, so that everyone are made aware of their rights pertaining to the police, pertaining to the justice system overall.
Thank you very much, Elaine Pypers from the NGO SA Women Fight Back, as we build up to the beginning on Wednesday of 16 days of activism against GBV, which is a South African and a global campaign. Be aware.